First, let's get disclaimed.
This presentation was produced under U.S. Department of Education contract number GS00F115CA with Synergy Enterprises, Inc. The views expressed herein do not necessarily represent the positions or policies of the U.S. Department of Education. No official endorsement by the U.S. Department of Education of any product, commodity, service, or enterprise mentioned herein is intended or should be inferred.
Okay, now that we've been disclaimed, I'd like to welcome your NYCP program officer, Donna Bussell. Hi, Donna.
Hi, thank you all for being here today.
Okay, and I am Olani Lily. I'm a member of the OIETA team, and I will be facilitating this talking circle. Again, welcome to the April NYCP talking circle. Today, we're just going to go through a short program officer updates. We're also going to be giving you some more information regarding the student artist competition if you hadn't heard of that competition that's going on right now. Also, we'll be doing a little check for understanding as it relates to our APR. That's sort of the Kahoot portion of our agenda. And then at the end, we'll be going through some upcoming events. Before we get started, I just wanted to check in on everyone. If you could, in the chat, maybe with an emoji or maybe a one word, just sort of let me know how your day is going. I know it's been, everybody's getting their APR put together while also running their programs. I've been talking to a lot of grantees, and it just seems like things are like rolling as far as all of your programs go. And so I did want to, if you could just put in the chat any emoji or one word about how your day is going. Oh, I like that. Goofy smile mine. Let's see. Oh, hey, Allison. Got to see you. Hi, Steve. I'll put mine in. I agree, Donna. That's where I'm at, even though I just kind of sort of woke up. All right, well, let's get started. Um, Donna, did you have any updates that you wanted to share?
I don't have any updates right now. I know everyone's busy with their APR, and reach out to you all or me if that you have any questions, but no updates.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Well, again, this is the APR season, and so I just want to remind you that your APR submission deadline is April 29th. If you were not able to attend the webinar that was held in March, you can go to the OIE website and be able to locate that webinar. Even if you did attend and maybe you need a refresher, which is we're going to do some of that today, but maybe in the wee hours of the afternoon, you are working on your APR and you have a question, you can always refer back to that recording. Of course, you can always email their TA team or Donna, your program officer. We wanted to let you know this is information we provided in other talking circles and as well as in the APR webinar, but usually it comes at the end of our sessions. I wanted to move it to the front because this is a really exciting opportunity for Native students across the nation to be able to participate in a student artist competition. OIE used to have this competition and it sort of stopped for a moment, and now we're trying to restart that. This competition is open to any Native student, and so they don't necessarily have to be just within your organization or program. So you might want to share this with maybe your school districts, some of your partners, even some of your providers who may have other contracts and may be doing other work with Native students. It also includes Alaska Native, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Island artists, writers, or videographers. There are three categories. One is art, which is open to students in early childhood education through grade 12. The form of art can be painting, drawing, printmaking, mixed media, photography, computer art, or textile. So it can really be a range of different types of art and methods of art. The second category is writing. That category is open to students in grades 4 through 12. Really a personal narrative essay. It should really be focused around the theme, which is 50 years of OIE as celebration and call to action. And so both the writing and the art and the video should be really focused around that theme. And then the third category is video. That category is open to students in grades 4 through 12. Can be a personal performance piece and should be no longer than 3 minutes. All of the entries need to be submitted by next week, April 15th. So we want to make sure we get this out as soon as possible. And then prizes and winners will be awarded during the 50th year celebration for the Office of Indian Education. So we really want to encourage you to reach out to the Native youth in your communities and get them engaged in this amazing competition. Sorry, hold on one second. So let's go through, we're going to do a little bit of just reminders about what's happening with APR. Again, you should be logging in and checking into G5. Even maybe you don't have all of your forms filled out, you do want to look into G5, see if there's going to be any downtimes. Make sure that you can access all of your documents that you need to access on G5. Make sure that you are the project director on record, because only project directors will be able to access this. And just make sure everything is tip-top shape, even though you might still be working on, your section A or your section B or section C. You want to go ahead and check in. So right now we're going to move to playing a fun game of Kahoot. So again, I'm just going to, as I switch over, you might want to go to www.kahoot.it and be able to log in, because we're going to play a Kahoot game. And let me go and share this screen. Okay, and let me share my screen. Okay, can you folks all see the Kahoot game and the pin number? So you should be able to log in, and as soon as we start getting our players going and logged in, we'll be able to start. If you are maybe on your phone and you still want to play, you can go ahead and provide your answers in the chat. We want to make sure everybody gets to play. I do see there's oh, thanks, Sarah, for putting the game pin in. Looks like we have people joining. Awesome. Well, let's get started. Okay, hopefully folks can all see this. So the expiration year of the ED 524B form should be, now select the one you think is correct. Okay, great. That's correct. 2024. So you want to make sure you're looking up in the right-hand corner of the form to make sure it's the correct year. Awesome. Good job, everybody. Next question. The reporting period for this APR should be, now you pick the correct reporting period. I let this go a little bit because there was a lot of dates and I wanted to make sure you could pick the right one. Okay, so the correct answer is October 1st, 21 through March 31st, 22. Awesome. Great job, you guys. Now let's just take a look at this section of the cover sheet. This relates to your performance measure status and certification. Performance measure status. So you have two choices here. A are complete data on performance measures for the current budget period included in the project status chart. So you would choose yes or no. So that leads us to the next question. If I reported 999 for two measures, I should check yes, true or false. That's correct. Awesome. So if you are reporting 999 on any measures, whether it's GEPRA or your own performance measures, you should check. You should check no. All right, let's move on. Great. Well, Ali's our answer streak of 3. Great job. So here's a question, another one about the cover sheet. Who signs your APR cover sheet? Your financial officer, a partnering organization, project director, or authorized representative. So you want to go ahead and check who should be signing your APR cover sheet. And as you're doing that, I'm sure you are aware that if you go ahead and input your cover sheet in G5, you do need to download it, take it to your authorized, oh, I gave the answer. Take it to the person who signs your APR cover sheet and have them sign it and then upload it back into G5. All right. We're almost there with the timing out of the question. All right, so it should be your authorized representative. Now, maybe in your organization, your financial officer is the authorized representative. Maybe it's a tribal leader, or even potentially a project director. But it does need to be the person who is authorized by the organization to sign, and that person should be reported in grants.gov as well as with OIE. Otherwise, it won't, G5 will not take it. Okay, great job, everyone. Let's move on to the next. True or false? The executive summary can be 5 pages or more. Is that true or false? Now, when I'm talking about executive summary, I'm talking about that narrative portion at the beginning of your APR. Can that be 5 pages or more? And your answers are false. Okay, great. Yes, it should be 2 pages, no more than 2 pages. I know that seems like a really small amount of space, but you do have, again, your explanation of progress as well as section C, and even if it has something to do with your budget, also section B, to be able to write and explain more about what happened in your organization. So all of the narrative is not just isolated to the executive summary. Great job, you guys. Let's move on to the next. The executive summary should highlight successes and challenges. Is that true or false? Again, this is that narrative portion at the beginning of your APR. There's a lot of different information that you could put in there. Is you highlighting your successes and challenges appropriate for that? Yes, okay. That successes and challenges is one thing you can include in the executive summary. Additionally, you can also talk about maybe any new things you've learned through going through your program, any maybe staff changes. Really, you want to put like your highlights and your most sort of critical information that may not fit in any other space of the APR into your executive summary. Here's a true or false. For GEPR measures, report only actual ratios. Is that true or false? It's true. So for your GEPR measures, you will not be reporting target. You will only be reporting actual ratios. Great job, everybody. Here's another true or false. In this portion of section A, there's the portion, you will enter ratios only, not raw numbers. Is that true or false? Are we entering, we're only entering ratios. Is that true or false? If you look here, you can see that that measure type is a project measure. Great job. Again, it is true. You are only entering ratios. Okay, looks like Larissa is moving to the top. Great job. So here's a question with a lot of words. And I like this song. So I'm going to play this for you. Oh, but it's not playing.
Doesn't belong. Can you tell which thing is not like the other by the time I finish this song?
I don't know. I like that song. It brings back childhood memories. But really, the explanation of progress should not include which one of these. So I did give a little extra time because there's a lot of words here. But which one does not belong in the explanation of progress? As you're reading through that, we can listen to this cool ditty.
These things doesn't belong. Can you tell which thing is not like the other by the time I finish this song?
Okay, so let's see what you folks selected. Okay, yes. We will not be including program participants' name, grade, and place of residence. That should not be in the explanation of progress. It should not be in the executive summary. It should not be in the budget or in section C. We never provide personal information on any reports. Great job. And it definitely doesn't belong in the explanation of progress. Awesome. Great job, guys. Oh, Larissa's still at the top, but Ali's trailing closely. Let's move on to a true or false. In your budget narrative, I should discuss funds expended, even if it is not reflected yet in G5, through March 31st, 2022. So really, in your budget narrative, you should discuss funds expended through March 31st, 2022, even if it's not reflected in G5 through drawdowns. So let's think about that for a moment. Again, You know, there is the difference between expending and then the drawdown. So whether or not you've actually gone ahead and drawn down the funds and they're maybe not reflected in G5, you do want to discuss all of the funds that have been expended up until March 31st, 2022. And why March 31st? Well, that's because that's the reporting period for this APR, the end of the reporting period. So let's see how everybody answered. Great. That's correct. You guys got it all correct. True. We do want to discuss all these funds expended, even though it's not reflected yet in G5 through March 31st, 2022. Good job. Okay, it's moving on. A couple more. Here's a quiz. So this is multiple select. You're going to be able to select more than one. The budget narrative should also include the following information. So check all that apply. G5 drawdown frequency, how much funding you anticipate remaining and why, a statement whether you anticipate requesting a no-cost extension and why, and funding from other sources. So I gave extra time here because, again, there's a lot of words, and I wanted to give you some think time. Alrighty. Hope you've had time to read all 4 of those and be able to select all of the ones you think should be included in your budget narrative. Great job. Great job. So the one that you probably won't be including is reporting on funding from other sources. You can, however, in your budget narrative, talk about the sustainability of your program, and that may include maybe some other funding sources you are applying for, but you're not going to be reporting on those actual funding sources. But it may be a part of your sustainability discussion. All right, let's move on to the next one. This is a true or false. Okay, so this is your optional budget tool that you can use. And the yellow the yellow cells have formulas that can be changed. Is that true or false? Let's see what you folks have selected. Okay, we're split here, so some is true and some say false. So it is true that the yellow forms have formulas that are locked, and the reason why those are locked is to really just help you so that all of the information gets auto-calculated. Okay, so yes, they cannot be changed. Okay. Here's another quiz. Again, you can select all that apply for this question. So in section C, I should include which of the following, or all? Success stories, challenges, status of partnerships, and key personnel changes. Again, you can choose multiple answers to this question. This section C, again, is another place that you can provide, you have way more space to provide more information about what's going on in your program. So let's see what you selected that should be included in this Section C narrative portion. All right, yes, everybody picked all four: success stories, status of partnerships, challenges, and key personnel changes. Those are all things that can be included and should be included in your Section C narrative. Oh, sorry, clicked that one too fast. All right. If you do not use the optional section reporting tool, that's a new tool that was created this year, you do not need to provide this information anywhere in this document. You can go ahead and check if that is true or false. So if I don't use this optional C tool, I do not need to provide the information being requested in the optional C tool. False, that's correct. So whether or not you're using this tool or this form, or this document, you still need to provide the information that's being requested. Okay, Ali's back on top. Awesome. Okay, nearing the end, this is a multi-select. Again, you're going to choose all of the answers that apply. If I need help or have a question, I can email oie@seiservices.com, contact the NYCP program officer, schedule a TA session on Calendly, or rewatch the NYCP APR webinar recording. So you can go ahead and choose any of those that apply. Oh, sorry, Ali, I just saw your message in chat. It was too small. I'm sorry about that. Okay, let's see what your responses were. Awesome. Okay, you can do all four. Again, at the end of this session, we will provide a link for the Calendly. You have our email. You also know how to contact Donna, your NYC program officer. And then also, I think earlier in the chat, the link to the APR webinar recording was provided. So all great ways that can help you if you have a question. Okay, and here's our last question, true or false. I will start to input my APR in G5 on Friday, April 29th at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Is that true or false? Let's see when you guys will be inputting your APR, if that's true or false. It is false. Very good. Even though it's maybe 2 hours ahead of time, you just never know with G5 what kind of glitches you might have in uploading information or putting, copying and pasting what you've already written into the different fields in G5. So give yourself ample time. All right. You know what I forgot to mention at the beginning of this is that there is going to be prizes for the top 3 scorers for this Kahoot. So let's go ahead and look at our top 3 participants. And the winner is Ali. Okay, so our top 3 participants, the grand prize, and actually it's for everybody, but the grand prize is you get to schedule 1 free TA coaching session on APRs with your OIE TA technical assistance team. And that's a great prize. And of course, we want to congratulate our winners, but it's a prize that's actually available to all of you. I just thought I would make a funny as we go through this. Okay, good job, you guys. I hope that was a little different and interesting way in order to tackle and remind ourselves of all of the sort of some of the important information we need to be attuned to as we submit our APR. So I'm going to switch screens now. Thanks for playing, everyone. Okay, here we are back to the presentation. And let me get everything all connected. There we go. I was looking for my cursor. There's the help desk information again. We played our Kahoot. So I just wanted to again go over the NYCP GEPR measures, and we're going to go through each of these, and you can unmute if you have any questions, and we're going to just again unpack. We did this in the APR training, but we're going to stop at each measure, and I will take any questions or concerns that you folks have. So again, and here are your two GEPR measures. So for GEPR measure 1, this is how you will be reporting your on the bottom, the total number of project objectives. So let's say I have 5 project objectives. I will write 5 on the bottom. And then the number of project objectives met should be the top number. So of those 5, I've actually met 3. And so it would be 3 over 5. And I would report that ratio into the GEPR measure. Okay? Are there any questions regarding how to measure your first GEPR measure? You can come off of mute or you can put it in the chat. Is everyone clear and understands which of the measures are their project measures? Okay, so I don't see anything in the chat, and I don't hear anybody coming off of mute to ask a question, so I'm going to move on. Okay, so for GEPR measure number 2, this relates to increase in community collaboration. Excuse me. So one of the things you need to do is look at how you're defining new partnerships. Again, as you're developing that definition, make sure you're thinking in terms of the reporting period, October 1st, 2021 through March 31st, 2022. So when you're, again, defining partnerships, and I'm going to be reporting this, think in terms of that reporting period. For this measure, you simply report 1 as your bottom number, and the top number of your ratio is the number of new partnerships you have secured during the reporting period. Are there any questions about that? Or does anyone, go ahead.
Alani, the bottom number of this ratio again is what?
1.
Okay, 1. I just want to make sure, because it says right there, number of new partnerships over 1, and I'm like, all right, just want to make sure I'm very clear on that.
Yep, that's great. That's what this is about, getting clarity and making sure we're all clear. So if you have, if you are defining new partnerships as partnerships that you have created MOUs with partners who have been developed between October 2021 and March 2022, you may consider and count them as the number of new partners and partnerships. Does anyone else have questions or concerns regarding how they are going to measure this GEPR measure?
Olani, I wanted to ask, you said with MOUs or various other agreements, because we have been recruiting for businesses for students to work at as a part of our internship program, but we don't have like a written MOU with each one of the businesses. Is that a requirement?
No, it's not. I'm just, it could be however you are defining that partnership. That was an example.
Thank you for the clarification.
No, and thank you for catching that. So again, it's how you define a new partnership. It can be like you have had a discussion, you've had a meeting, there are certain agreements. It can be more solidified into an MOU. It could be that they are now agreed to be a part of a member of a council and are now participating in meetings. However, you are defining new partnerships. Thanks, Ali, for that clarification. Does anyone else have questions or maybe want to share how you are defining, how you define new partnerships? No? Okay, we're all good. All right, let's move on. My cursor keeps disappearing. Here we go. All right, so again, this is what your project status chart may look like when you have your GEPR measures reported. Right here, you want to make sure you're using the exact language of the GEPR measure, the ones that I had just shared. You want to make sure if it's a GEPR measure, you are checking GEPR as the measure type. For GEPR, you are not reporting any target numbers. So this whole first section of columns under quantitative data should not be completed, should be empty for GEPR measures. Where we should see numbers is in this section of actual performance data. And we should only see numbers in the ratio columns. That's right there. And then we want to also make sure we are putting our explanation of progress. Now, as you can see in this explanation of progress, it identifies 1A, which is associated with the first GEPR measure at the top, and 1B. So while both GEPR measures are on one page, in the explanation of progress, they are sort of really pulling that out for your program officer to see the different explanations of progress as it relates to the two different GEPR measures. Okay. Then when we look at your own project measures, this is what your project status chart will look like. Again, you will have the project measure text. Now, this text should be the same project measure language that you've used on previous APR reports. You're not changing that language. So you can go back to last year's APR and copy and paste that language for your project measures into these boxes. Oh, sorry. I went ahead. There we go. Additionally, you want to make sure you're checking the measure type as project measures. Now here on your project measures, you are going to be reporting both in the target column as well as the actual performance data, ratios only. I know you're probably going, Eleni, You guys have been talking about this over and over again in talking circles leading up, and then the APR webinar, and then now after the APR webinar. Well, I really want to. We're doing that because we last year we saw a whole range of numbers going in different places, and so we want to make sure we are trying to set you up for success, and that you are reporting the numbers in the proper area so that we can really understand the amazing work that you folks are doing. So that's why I keep harping on ratios and project measures and what goes where in this section A. Alrighty. Are there any questions about this?
Yes, I did have a quick question. So when we are doing this target, because I have project measures that are summer related, so they're not going to happen by March 31st.
Right.
I'm going to put 999 in the ratio because it is not complete yet, because that's an incomplete data set. Is that right?
That is correct.
Okay. And then that's where, when we have that little checkbox that we say all this information is complete, we say false because it's not. And then we give the date. And that, is there a recommended date we give? I know that I'll have summer information by the end of summer, but you're not going to want me to report summer information and then another project measure that's not complete until September. Oh, I see. October 27th. That's
Yes.
the date we're supposed to use in the chat.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. That answers my question.
Awesome. Great question. So again, October 27th is when you will be submitting your update for your APRs. So if you have any 999s that you're currently reporting in your APR, the expectation is that you will have something to report in the update on October 27th. Oh, hi, Chris. I see you.
Hi, Alani. Alani, I have just another quick question related to that. The 999 would be 999 over 1, right?
It's usually 999 over 999.
Over 99. Okay, thank you.
Sure, it's a mess of 999s. But again, now if you know that you are not going to be able to get that data by October 27th, or you don't, or you know you're not going to meet it, even maybe now you know you're not going to meet it, you will be putting 0, 1 as the ratio. Okay, I hope I didn't confuse anybody anymore. So yeah, 999 if you don't have the data yet, but you know you will be getting that data by October 27th, and 0, 1 if you don't have the data yet and you won't be having that data by October 27th. We saw a lot of that during the pandemic when you had created project measures in your proposals, but because of the pandemic, you weren't able to successfully meet those project measures. We saw a lot of 0, 1s popping up there. Any other questions? Oh, thanks, Sarah. That's what the 999 looks like. She put that in the chat. Are there any questions? Alrighty. I just want to just also give you a little bit of information that we do also have the optional budget tool. I had highlighted that. Let me go back and find that for you. That's the budget that had all the yellow cells in it. Let me see if I can find it. Oh no, it was in my Kahoot. You are not, oh, there you go. There you go. Awesome, Sarah. You are not obligated to complete this tool and utilize this tool. However, you are obligated to report on all the information that that tool is requesting. It can be in your own format, but it does need to be the same information. Also, we provided this year a new tool for Section C. Again, while you are not required to use that tool, you still do need to report the same information. Are there any questions about the use of those two optional tools? Sarah has again put the Section C reporting tool there.
Alani, I have a question on section C.
Sure.
In our project, we did not identify the number of children and adults that would be participating.
Mhm.
We are serving our entire community with our project. And so we're not collecting exact numbers of children and adults as we've gone through, because we've established our measures from the very first year that we started. Is it okay to put an estimate of the number of children enrolled in the community and the number of adults enrolled in the community, and then put a comment under there that these are our best estimates and we've given the information about what we've done in more detail in sections A and B?
If you're not collecting the data, you haven't been collecting the data, I think that's fair.
Okay.
Sarah, do you have any thoughts on that?
So, Chris, as long as you're collecting the data that you had submitted in your original application, you're good. So as long as that's in your original application, that's what you were going to collect on, you're good. But
Thank you. Okay.
if it says it, whatever it says in your application, what you were going to collect.
Okay. Okay. Because that's the only thing that was new to me. We, from last year, we didn't put exact numbers of children participating. We did our numbers in a different way. So we'll continue to do that.
Yeah, as long as it matches up with your original grant application on how and who you were going to collect those numbers on, it's okay. But if you stated in your grant application you were going to collect numbers on the amount of students you were serving, then we need those. So whatever it says in your grant application, I would go back and review that.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Donna. Any other questions regarding either of those tools or maybe something else related to your APR? Okay, you guys are on it. Let's move on. Oh, why am I going backwards? There we go. So again, these are important reminders. You know that your G5 has already opened the report. Only the grant project director of record in G5 may submit that report. So again, that was, at the beginning I shared the G5 slide. You want to, even though maybe you're not finished writing the report, you want to make sure you go in and test it, make sure you have access to it. And if you don't, there is a process to change the project director. You need to contact Donna, your program officer, in order to change the project director of record and have that be reflected in G5. That does take some time. So you want to, again, go ahead and make sure you can access G5. G5 will shut down and you will not be able to, it will not accept any reports past that 4:30 59 seconds Eastern time, no Eastern time deadline. So if you're coming in at 4:31, you have missed, and you will be freaking out because, and even if you're working in it and you haven't submitted, it will not accept your submission. You haven't pressed that submit button. So I really want to encourage you to start now. We've already been working with quite a few of you to help you complete your APR. And so we're here to help to make sure that it gets done with as least amount of stress on you as possible. Okay, you will not be able to go into G5 after the deadline to revise your report. So once you hit that submit button, and the deadline passes, you will not be able to submit revisions. Are there any questions about that? I'm hoping that you folks are all project directors of record in G5. If you don't know, now's the time to check. Okay, important reminders. You do want to finalize and submit your APR, and you don't want to leave your APR in draft form. That is through the G5, and leave it unsubmitted. There is a process. You'll notice when you go into G5, it will, when you see all the documents, there will be a status column. You want to make sure that all of your status columns are complete, and then go down to the bottom to walk through the process of actually submitting. Just because the status of the form say it's complete does not mean it's submitted. You need to go through the process of submitting all of your forms as relates to the APR. Again, here's the due date. I know you're like, well, Ani, we've said this 10 million times again. I'm going to say it 10 million times and one. We want to make sure that you have a successful and decreased amount of stress as it relates to your APR, because it really shouldn't be stressful. It's really a celebration of the hard work and the impactful work you're doing in the community. And we don't want to have the clock ticking away and you being stressed out by it. So here's some technical assistance opportunities. There's just a few remaining as we approach the deadline. So we will be having office hours on April 28th. You can pop in and ask your questions that you may have. You can also, a lot of people just sit in and listen to other people ask questions, because sometimes we don't know. I know me, sometimes I leave a meeting or I hear other people, I'm like, gosh, I never even thought to ask that question. That's a great question. And so it's kind of good to hear your peers ask. Again, office hours is open to all of the grant programs provided by OIE. And so it's not an agenda program. Your questions are the agenda, and us getting you answers is the agenda. You can also go ahead and schedule individual coaching appointments. If maybe you're a new project director and you haven't done a G5 application before, taking an individual coaching appointment to have us be with you to walk you through the submission process is a great use of this appointment. Also, if you need another set of eyes to look through your explanation of progress or your maybe your section C, that's another great way to use coaching appointments. Does anybody have any questions or comments regarding any of the technical assistance opportunities? Oh, I see that Sarah has put the link into the calendar. That really helps us schedule this. Any questions or comments? Okay. Oh, also a really great tool that we created this year. Actually, Sarah had created it, and we sort of tweaked it for all of the different grant programs. Is this APR checklist? Now, when you look at it, it may look like, whoa, that's a lot, but it's really helpful as you're putting pieces together before you go to submit, to check off that you have everything, so you don't have to sort of stop and then get off of G5 and then go and move something to a PDF, or go and think, oh, I forgot to put I forgot about the section C optional reporting tool. I want to make sure I have that. So this checklist really helps to make sure that you have all your pieces together before you go ahead and move into the G5. And so that helps your submission, and just you can carve out time out of your day to just do the cut and paste and attach over to G5 once you've gone through this checklist. So really want to encourage you to take advantage of that tool. Any questions or comments? Okay, moving on. Oh, there's the questions. So we're at the end. We're early, but that's all right. I just want, if you folks have questions, we can stay on afterwards. Also, here popping up is your end of event poll. This is really helpful for us to see what's working, what's not. We do pay attention to them. As you're doing that poll, I'm going to move through some of the events, sorry, the upcoming events. Again, you want to make sure you're saving the date. The project directors meeting is right around the corner, May 10th through the 12th. We have some really exciting sessions coming together, and it's just always great to get to see everybody and virtually see everybody and learn from each other. We're doing the networking sessions a little different this year. What we heard from you folks, ongoing, is that you really learn a lot from each other. And so we're really carving out time for you to hear what your fellow grantees are doing, what they're learning, their challenges and how they've gotten over them, some of the innovation that they're doing. So we're really going to have some really great activities and breakouts. Oh, I see, Ali. Can you confirm the start times for the directors meeting? I believe, I believe it's 1 o'clock. No, I'm lying. Let me just make sure before I give the wrong time. Hold on 1 second as I find that. That's a good question. Let me get there. Oh, there. Yeah, Sarah, 1 Eastern time each day. And we'll start with a keynote speaker, and then we'll have breakout sessions, and then networking sessions. So really some exciting sharing going on and learning. Again, if you have any questions, this is the contact information for Donna Sabas Burns, for Bianca, but primarily for you folks, Donna Bussell, there's her email on the bottom. And then if you want to be sort of in the loop with the most up-to-date information coming out of OIE, you want to check them out on Twitter at OIE Indian Ed on Twitter. There's a whole bunch of new information coming out, up to date, not just on what's happening in OIE, but really the landscape of American Indian and Alaska Native education. Anything else? Any other questions? If not, then we can be finished for this day. Thank you again for joining the April NYCP Talking Circle. I hope that refresher and that check for understanding regarding the APR was helpful. Again, you always contact us and reach out to us if you get stuck or need help. Thank you folks and have a wonderful, wonderful day.